We are about to embark on a very important project, and that is the Glossary Project. And I wanted to make sure to say a couple of things ahead of this in the two videos that we want to make today about the power of words and then, of course, the issue of research. And so to begin, the idea that words are important is huge. Whoever controls the definition controls the conversation is a phrase I've been using forever. And it's the idea, of course, that words, that is, are generated by people who believe certain things, and those beliefs are going to come through those definitions. So let's just do a little bit of a run through so we know what we're getting into in this particular course, argumentative writing. So to begin, I wanted to share just a quick anecdote from this particular book, The Case for Democracy, from Nathan Sharansky, a Jew who was a political prisoner in the old Soviet Union. And Ronald Reagan told the then Premier Gorbachev of the USSR, if we're going to go forward in any kind of nuclear power talks, you've got to release him and you have to quit calling him a political prisoner, and you need to get him back into freedom. And so, of course, the issue was about the definition of what is a political prisoner. And the crucial concern, of course, is the definition of that particular word. So to continue, whoever controls the definition controls the conversation. Why does the definition of a word matter? And here's where you might want to just pause this video for just a few seconds and ponder that question. And when you're finished pondering that question for yourself, then reflect on the next question, which is, why does it matter who gets to decide what a word means? Think about that. Think deeply about it. Because quite frankly, these questions are crucial. And how crucial they are going to impact not only this course, not only your university studies, but quite frankly, for the rest of your life. So why is this so important to me, and why do you hear my voice rising a bit? Well, if you were in a classroom with me, you'd hear it probably rise even further. But I want to suggest to you that there are 5 major influencers in this life, the first of which is big tech. So if you're watching this on your phone or your laptop or whatever other device you might have in front of you, you are connected to big tech, just as I am right now. That's a huge quite frankly, influencer in all of our lives, as is the federal bureaucracy, which, by the way, doesn't get mentioned very often, but is indeed. They're the ones behind the congressmen and senators and presidents who actually make the laws. And that's a whole discussion, but perhaps we can get to that some other time. Universities are a huge influencer, and I'll talk more about my own responsibility in that. Hollywood, whatever they produce is going to have a certain point of view. And then, of course, social media. And I could tell you a story about that, which has happened to me just this week, about the issue of who gets to say what and when, and who gets to define what that means. So, to continue, I think there are important key ideas here. The issue of misinformation. So if you go on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or any of these kinds of social media sites, you're going to find people talking about misinformation. The first thing that comes to my mind is, what do you mean by misinformation? How do you define that word? And then, of course, we've got fact checkers. And my questions about them are, who are they? And are they paid? And what is their point of view? And by the way, they are paid. And what their point of view is hidden. They'll tell you what they've commented on, but they won't tell you their perspective on life. And they are being paid, by the way. An important idea that suggests to us that this goes beyond simple influence. And then, of course, there's the importance of our glossary assignment, which most of you are saying, would you just get to the point? So true. Research for definitions should include a wide variety of sources, individuals, and points of view. In this particular case, however, I'm only asking you for one. You just have to go and do that. And my purpose in doing it is to get you used to doing research. Defining words carefully and clearly, expressing yourself, and being wary of who controls that definition is then the next important issue. So when I think about the glossary assignment, I'm trying to get you to ask yourself the question, who's behind these words and why does their point of view matter? So, does that mean that your glossary definition is right? So once you set it down, you complete the assignment, you begin to create this project that we're moving toward over our 13-week course. My answer to the question is not necessarily. The point is that you learn that definitions have come from people with a certain point of view. Now, one of the things that makes me quite unique as a university professor is that I started as a high school teacher. And so I was there for about 20 years, and almost every day, and in fact, probably numerous times during any given class, I would say to my students, I do not want you to believe anything I tell you. I want you to go check it out for yourself. That's the point of research. That's the point of this video. I want you to go and think about these kinds of ideas and how they're going to influence you. So words have power. That shouldn't really come as any great shock to us. They shape the way that we think. They are necessary to interpret what we see. Words express our interpretation of the world around us. They counteract or interact with all of the visual issues all around us, and they're the ones that actually interpret that visual world. So you can watch a movie, but somebody actually had to talk about the movie first, write a book about it, and then when you're watching it, if you're sitting with a friend, you're talking about it. In fact, that's what you're doing when you're watching the movie that we're doing for this particular course. And don't forget things that totalitarian dictators like a Napoleon would say, that 4 hostile newspapers are more to be feared than 1,000 bayonets. Now, he said this in the early part of the 19th century. Just think about the impact of social media today. So words are important. People are getting jailed and killed for their words. The picture that I have displayed here in this particular slide is that of what's going on in Hong Kong. In fact, this is a picture from this past summer. And notice the flags that they're flying in Hong Kong. If you're not aware of what's going on, the Communist Chinese government is trying to suppress Hong Kong and try to take it over. And they're not only doing that, but they're literally putting people in prison for their beliefs. So I suggest this to us because words are important. The people that want what they want is simply freedom. So ask yourself questions like, how do I define love? I mean, this is just kind of a simple thing, but it's an important question nonetheless. Are these words important that we throw around to each other, that I love you? What does it mean to be human? Do I define myself by my color, my class, my culture, whatever the case might be? And then there's the issue of identity and identifying myself. And how do I do that? And what does that mean? And then why is freedom so important? And I mentioned the issue of Hong Kong. So coming back to summarize, words are powerful and important. They matter in life, and whoever controls the definition controls the conversation. So as you're thinking about your glossary assignment, keep these ideas in the back of your mind and never forget the importance of them. And then, of course, remember that there's a whole bunch of different people out there with different points of view, and at least we should be concerned about listening to each one. And that's what we're going to get to in our next video on research.